Caught Stealing, 2025. When you hear Darren Aronofsky is directing a crime caper set in 1990s New York starring the Austin Butler, you'll probably expect this film to be amazing. Caught Stealing promised neo-noir grit, heavy atmosphere, and a bruised anti-hero stumbling through mob violence and shattered dreams. And in flashes, it delivered. Matthew Libatique's cinematography soaked every alleyway and dive bar in nostalgic grime. Butler brought tortured charisma, and even the neighborhood cat somehow became a scene stealer. But beneath the stylish veneer, the story just fell apart. One scene played like a grim thriller, and the next was like slapstick comedy, and then suddenly it wanted to be a trauma study. So instead of cohesion, it felt like a blender of tones and tropes. So by the end, the plot was scattered around and the emotional payoff was flat. Audiences left more confused than thrilled. With a budget of about $70 million, the movie crawled to just $21 million worldwide. That's a staggering loss in the range of $70 to $80 million once you add marketing and theater cuts. Aronofsky swung for the fences, but this time, he missed. My Mother's Wedding, 2025. Kristen Scott Thomas's directorial debut had all the right ingredients. Imagine Scarlett Johansson, Sienna Miller, Emily Beecham, a quaint countryside estate, and the kind of dysfunctional family drama that usually makes for bittersweet indie gold. The film started strong, setting up three sisters with complicated lives as they gather for their mother's third wedding. But once the story settles, it leans too heavily on one sister's journey, leaving the others rushed and undercut. The emotional arcs that should have been the heart of the film instead feel fragmented. That imbalance cost the movie dearly. What could have been a touching and witty drama about grief, love, and starting over instead came across as uneven and oddly thin. Critics were mixed, and audiences didn't show up at all. On a budget around $15 million, it barely managed $6 million globally. Not that bad in blockbuster terms, but for a debut meant to showcase Scott Thomas's voice, the fall was disheartening.
We were just talking about you.
Belgus, Jack, and the boys are waiting for you.
Well, assuming Jeremy Clarkson's fixed my motor, I'll bugger off to the church. Good luck. You and I need a chat, young lady.
Witchboard, 2025. So, Witchboard, it wasn't awful, but Chuck Russell, the man behind A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and The Mask, returned to remake a cult horror property with a fresh cast and modern polish. Early reviews even leaned positive, hovering in the mid-60s on Rotten Tomatoes. But the financial numbers, it was kind of brutal. On opening weekend, it pulled just $197,000 across 580 screens. That's kind of humiliating. $339 per theater average. By the end of its run, it scraped together only $480,000 worldwide. For context, even Shin Godzilla's re-release that same week made 3 times more. So the problem wasn't the film, it was the timing and the marketing. Atlas Distribution simply couldn't compete with horror juggernauts like Weapons, and their campaign was practically invincible. With a budget in the $10 million range, almost all of it evaporated.
Thank you, darling. No, I'm not hungry.
Nonsense. We cater for all our guests' appetites here.
Eden, 2025. Ron Howard directing a prestige drama starring Ana de Armas, Sydney Sweeney, Jude Law, and Vanessa Kirby should have been a slam dunk. Imagine that cast, that's an all-star, especially those three. Eden told the story of a messy, real-life conflict on the Galapagos Islands in 1929, full of jealousy, betrayal, and survival. The movie was kind of screaming of Oscars, but I think the execution was fizzled. The problem started early. Its TIFF premiere got a muted reception. Some praised the acting, others called the characters unlikable and the tone overwrought. The film struggled to even find a distributor, and when it finally released, the push was half-hearted. Worse, the marketing just couldn't sell it to general audiences. Was it a survival thriller, a period drama, or a lurid soap opera? The lack of clarity killed interest. It opened with just $1 million domestically, and worldwide, it only grossed around $7 million. With a budget near $50 million or more, it stands as one of the year's harshest flops. It's a reminder that even if you have an all-star cast, you can't guarantee box office results anymore.
You want to build a hotel here?
Not just any hotel. The most exclusive resort in the world. Millionaires only.
Here?
Honey, don't.
Duh!
2025. You know, sometimes a beloved filmmaker delivers a movie so weak it makes you rethink their whole career. That's what Honey Don't did for Ethan Coen, because on paper it sounded fun. Margaret Qualley as a sultry private eye chasing a preacher, played by none other than Chris Evans, through a twisted murdery mystery. But in practice, the film was shapeless and dull. Performances felt off and the writing meandered. The big twist landed soft, so arbitrary it could have been pasted in from a different script. The word of mouth was toxic, so audiences stayed away. With a budget of around $20 million, it only got $6.7 million worldwide. After cuts in marketing, that's an estimated loss of $15 million or more. Coming off Drive Away Dolls, which was already shaky, this flop only fueled speculation that the Coens are weaker apart than they ever were together.
Marty, okay, I'm trying to scratch your back here. Remember how I'm supposed to scratch your back?
Oh, I remember.
You find out what kind of hanky-panky is going on in this place. It's a feather in your cap.
The Roses, 2025. Remakes are always a gamble, guys. The Roses proved why. Jay Roach reimagined War of the Roses with Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman leading a star-studded ensemble. The idea of watching two Oscar-caliber actors tear each other apart in a vicious divorce battle should have been completely gold. But the film landed bad. Audiences weren't interested in revisiting the story. Critics found it uneven, and word of mouth didn't spread. It opened soft over Labor Day, earning just $7 million for the long weekend. By the end of its run, it only had $41 million worldwide on a $30 million budget. That might sound close to break even, but once you add in cuts and marketing, it will be easily another double-digit loss. The original film from 1989, adjusted for inflation, made 3 times as much in its opening, and the remake couldn't even hold a candle.
Thank you, Ivy, for making all of this possible.
He sounds sarcastic, but he does actually mean it.
Yes, just the accent.
The accent is confusing.
Splitsville, 2025. Indie darlings Michelangelo Covino and Kyle Marvin came back with Splitsville, a raunchy romantic comedy about open relationships. It had festival buzz, quirky humor, and even Dakota Johnson and Adria Arjona in the cast. But what works in a tight indie debut doesn't always scale up. The movie felt overstuffed, too many side plots, tonal shifts, and inconsistent characters. One moment it wanted to be thoughtful, the next it leaned on crude gags. Critics called it messy and audiences shrugged. It ended in a theatrical run with just over $2 million worldwide, against a budget estimated around $15 million. So that's a $13 million in losses. So sometimes it doesn't mean just because it has festival heat, it will always translate to multiple crowds. Nobody 2. 2025. After the sleeper success of the first film, Bob Odenkirk returned as the suburban dad turned action machine. Fans expected another gritty, violent thrill ride, but what they got was, fine. Not terrible, not great, it's just fine. But in today's market, fine doesn't sell. The sequel opened weaker than expected. It only pulled $39 million worldwide, with a budget of about $25 million. So probably the studio only saw back around $20 million from theaters after splits. That left a gap of several million before marketing. So it's not the worst flop of the month, but definitely a disappointment for a franchise that once had breakout potential. I think people are getting tired for the John Wick approach, guys. What do you guys think? That's 8 minutes. Thank you for watching. Like the video and don't forget to subscribe for more flops.